No, because like
upgraded area.
I was thinking like it should be really nice to like have you both. Like I said, like it's obviously you went through most things together, you know.
Yeah.
But
no, but also before we met, you know, so like Zoe was had 3 companies already, you know. She was a fashion designer. She had like going to Vegas, like her company. So she already had, you know, a lot of background, like you know. So here was like we were starting over, like I mean, you know, from the beginning, you know.
That's like what I wanted to start with. Obviously, like, how did you end up in Canada? Like that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, you were born in Greece.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And then Canada happened.
And then what happened basically in, you know, a nutshell, like in a 60-second, you know, thing was like at the time, because in Greece you have to do the army, you know, when you're 18, you need to go basically to the army, unless you're going to school and you're studying. Then when you finish, you need to do the army, whatever age that is, you know what I mean?
It's like mandatory,
yeah.
Okay.
So basically my older brother George was finishing his duty, like he went to the army. I was finishing my school, so I was about to go to the army. I had to go to the army. And at the time, basically, you know, both my parents lost their jobs. Like my father was working in a theater, you know, for 30 years. He was an actor. And he lost basically his job for the 3rd season in a row. Like he was getting older, you know. And then my mother was working for like the radio station of the government, like government radio station.
What did she do? Like
translator?
DJ? Oh, okay.
No,
translator.
Like Italian, saying the Greek news in Italian. So basically everything happened in that same year. We had already, you know, kind of, you know, entertained going to Canada because we had some family. And both me and my brother, basically we were pretty rough, like, you know, we were...
Rebels,
yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, it was...
but your brother, how much older he is?
He's a year older than me.
So, like, he already had the experience in the army, that's why you didn't want to go? Or like...
Well, no, because I had to do 2 years, like a waste of my... Then my parents, you cannot travel. Like, it was either now or we have to wait another 2 years.
So he kind of escaped it as well, or he had to
No, he was finishing.
Okay.
So he was already, you know, he was finishing.
And the experience wasn't good, probably.
No, it's a waste of time. Come on, you know.
Okay.
It's like, unless you're getting paid. I mean, if you're doing it for free.
If you're a professional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it's a different story. It's a waste of your 2 years of your life.
So, like, okay, so then like...
So then my mother said basically to my father, like, let's move to Canada, basically. Because, you know, the older
family.
kids, you know, the older guys are getting in trouble all the time. You know, it's basically, you know, we need to do something because they're going to end up, you know, somewhere bad, you know. And my father said, me, I don't want to go to Canada. You know, it's like, I don't like the idea. So my mother said, I'm going. It was her family side. If you don't want to come, I'm ditching you, basically. My mother said, I'm taking the kids and I'm going. So we did the application. Basically, my father said, obviously, I'm going to come, you know. We did the application to go to Canada. And then, like 3 weeks before our plane tickets, like we had rented our house, removed all the furniture. Like, I mean, this is with 4 kids now, my parents, right? We received from the Canadian government, we were not approved. Like, our visa.
You didn't get visas?
We didn't get the visa.
But so, like having family should have helped.
Still,
right?
We didn't get the visa. Maybe my parents, you know, they didn't do, you know,
they didn't fill it
correctly. Whatever it was, basically 3 weeks before, we received a letter, you're not approved. Your visa was declined. So my parents said, I mean, we're going anyways. Like we have the tickets. It was one-way ticket times 6, you know, to go to Canada. We're all going.
So like whatever happens at the border.
Yeah, whatever happens. So we go in with like a student visa, basically like tourist visa. And at the time, it was 1999, you know, at the time, Olympic Airways, which was the airway of Greece, you know, before Aegean and all this, it was Olympic Airways. You could smoke cigarettes on the plane. So it was like we were sitting in the back of the plane, like going up, you know, the thing, and we were smoking cigarettes, you know, with the ashtray on the thing. So it was
what year was this?
99. Then Then from 1st January of 2000, they stopped it. They eliminated it.
It's like millennium. We changed it.
Yeah, exactly. We changed it.
Okay.
So we went 8 hours, basically Athens, Montreal, smoking cigarettes because we're all smoking at the time,
That's crazy. Like I only saw like people smoking in like the posters like from 70s or 80s, on the planes. Like
in Greece, more like 99,
Oh.
Anyway,
okay,
so then they stopped it. Then when we arrived in Canada, obviously, we had family there. We rented an apartment that they helped us out. But what happened was, it was like we had to leave the country like every 3 months, because you're only with the student, with the visitor's visa.
Like tourist visa. So like they start chasing you, like looking for you, or?
Well, no, we didn't. Obviously, we had to leave the country, meaning like my cousin who was there, basically, he would rent a van every 3 months, and we would go inside the whole family. Imagine, like Alexi, they were 5 years old, my brothers are younger. Me, George, my father, my mother, my cousin, we would drive from Montreal down to the border of the United States, and you would go in and say, where are you guys going?
What's the state that you enter?
New York. Like
New York.
Under,
okay. So you literally like step in and you can go back.
So you go in basically and you were saying, hi, we're going shopping basically, in the American...
It's I think what people do in Malta with like foreign cars, some of them, like they go to Sicily with the ferry and then they come back.
And then we would go, obviously we didn't buy anything. It was like, at the border, we were saying. And then we would go drive maybe like 5 kilometers, turn around and come back. And on the Canadian side, goes on your passport, does the what time, so maybe we came back like 7 hours later, they don't know, but it was on the same day they would stamp it. So we did it like a few times, like
that's crazy. So every 3 months, so like you have to do it like 4 times in one year.
And then what happened was, me and my brother, my older brother went to school, then we applied for a student visa. So we ended up getting a student visa. My parents had to do the same thing over and over again.
Okay, like travel to the border.
And just stay basically.
But was there like a legal way to get the residency?
After 3 years.
Okay.
So we did this for 3 years basically. Me and George had,
It reminds me of a lot of like Lithuanians back in the 90s. Once we got the independence, because the borders opened, a lot of people like that went to United States. But in United States, I think you had to stay there for 10 years, and if they didn't catch you in 10 years, you automatically get the citizenship, basically, And there's a lot of families, man, like especially in like Chicago area, there's loads of Lithuanians, and that's how they got their roots
10
in.
years,
10 years is a long time, man. Yeah. Imagine like you don't see your family, nothing. Like if like mother, father, and kids went, like you don't see grandparents for 10 years. There were no like video calls, nothing. It's insane.
No, So I have an experience being an immigrant, like, basically there. We couldn't work for 3 years. It was working under the table, restaurants, stuff like that. No bank accounts, because you're nowhere, you're not, allowed to have anything, And then after 3 years, you apply for the residence permit, which you get, if you're there for 3 years, studying, stuff.
But you said your mother and father had to go, so your father went to Canada.
Yes.
Eventually,
after my mother said, gave him the ultimatum.
He was like, "I miss you. Like, I'm coming." Okay,
came,
cool. Okay, so then they obviously like you got the proper visas. Then like you could live like full life basically.
We stayed there. I stayed there 10 years. So after 5 years, we got Canadian citizenship. The whole family. When you're 5 years in the country, you can apply. It was much easier back then than it is now. That's the truth. In 2004, than 2023. So
because even I have friends who tried to apply for to live in Canada.
It was easier.
It's really hard. It became kind of like Australia. Like Australia is very exclusive. Like you have to either
meet many criteria.
It's like there's a list of professions that they're looking for because there's shortage. So if you fit in that list, like if you're, for example, I don't know, like neuroscientist, and they need neuroscientists, they will meet you with arms open. But if you're just coming to study or work pretty much is impossible as far as I know, because my classmate he lived there for like 7 or 8 years I think, and he just moved back to Lithuania because what he did, he used to have like to renew his student visa So basically, like if you want to live in Australia, you had to constantly be studying. And it doesn't make sense because you just get like degree after degree, which is basically useless.
Yeah.
You just use it to be able to live there. Like it's insane. I mean, but...
No, I mean, that's what I said. Back then, it was a different procedure. Like how it was in 2009 when I came here, and you would walk in BOV just with your ID, passport, and they would open a bank account on the spot, you know? It was that easy. Then you would leave BOV, you could go to HSBC with the same passport and open another bank account on the spot. Yeah. Or go to the ID place in Valletta and get your ID on the spot. Like you just wait for half an hour, wait there, passport thing, picture, and they would give it to you, print it fresh. Here's your ID card. It was a lot easier than it is now, you know.
But I mean, so how many years you had to be there until you could come back to Europe to visit friends, family?
Then, because I didn't do the army, you know, the mandatory army in Greece, I left before I did the army. Basically, you have to work outside of the country. You have to provide 8 years of tax returns, basically. Only after 8 years of working abroad, like legally, not illegally, obviously, like providing tax returns, you can get a paper that says, you know, you're like a, you know, expat. That's what it. So you're relieved of your of the military things, you know what I mean? Okay. So basically I was 10 years in Canada and I didn't go back to Greece. I couldn't, because you couldn't renew your passport. I didn't have Canadian passport, you know. You're like in between with no papers.
And even if you managed, they would grab you for the
army.
Yeah,
of course. No, because you don't have the passport. You cannot renew it, you know. And basically, you know, because I was in Canada and I couldn't leave, I couldn't travel, you know, because I didn't have a Canadian passport. You need to wait like 5-7 years after you get your residence card. And then I couldn't renew my thing until I had 8 years of tax returns, you know, of the... So for 10 years, basically, I couldn't travel, like, you know...
Outside Canada.
Outside Canada.
But I mean, Canada is big, like you can...
What I was going to tell you is because...
travel a lot there.
Yes, you know, it's like I got to see, I mean, we were driving, you know, for 10 hours, you know, road trips, because you would say, where can I go? Let's go to British Columbia. Let's go to Gaspésie. Let's go to, like, beautiful places in Canada. And a lot of Canadians basically have been less places than I've been for holiday, because it was like, where can we go?
Because you had no choice.
I had no choice,
you had to go internally.
And then, you know, I studied architectural technology, like, you know, doing AutoCAD plans and stuff, interior design. I worked right away, you know, after school, because it was a pretty, you know...
That's what I was going to ask, like how you found... Because I would call you a designer. I was thinking how actually to describe you.
Yeah.
And 3 things that I came up with was good Fredo, lover.
Yes, coffee lover in general, not only Fredo.
Serial and entrepreneur, kind of. Because I mean, we're gonna talk about all the businesses that you had, which is like insane. And basketball fanatic, man. Like you told me you're gonna come with the Panathinaikos,
and underneath my Chicago Bulls, you know, so I can prepare.
Layers.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, did you like just choose design out of the blue, or or someone suggested?
In Greece as well, I had already a degree. Like when I left, 20 years old, I had already done a 2-year program, like an, you know, secondary, like an MCAS type.
Okay, like a college kind of thing.
Yes, you know, that it was, you know, like on drafting. So that's what it was. It was a drafting course about how to do the plans, you know, for anything that has to do with construction. So it could be for a structural engineer, you know, for electrical, for, you know, architecture, for anything. Basically, how to use the program and do the plans. Then when I went to Canada, I found another college. That was a college, you know, another 2-year program. That was called architectural technology. So basically, again, it was like when you graduate, you could work basically for any type of, you know, office in the industry. Like you don't have a degree. I don't have a degree like an engineer. but I can work in an engineer's office because I have that diploma, you know.
You might just not be able to sign
Correct.
on the plans.
So you do the work, but somebody else has to put the stamp.
You can't take responsibility, basically. Okay.
So, you know, that's how, you know, I worked right away, you know. And I mean, obviously I was really good at it, you know, that's the truth. Like I was the fastest, you know. Like,
but even in Greece, like you, as a kid, you felt like you to draw
I
or
was
something?
always,
like,
I always like to draw.
Like artsy kid.
I'm very good, at it, you know, I'm very good at it. So that's why...
That's humble. I'm very good at it.
Very good at it.
I'm very good at it.
Yes, but I wasn't good in studying. So, you know, obviously I could have went, you know, in architecture or engineering or stuff like that. But I never made the, you know, the points, like the, you know, with all my grades, basically.
So
my
you had
grades,
like the creative side, but like if you needed to learn like formulas and stuff, it's like, but man, I imagine like right now it's like how much easier it is like with software, because like when you were studying, like even the software was much worse.
Yes, it was a lot more like you
manual.
Had to type commands and you know.
And now everything's
stuff.
Like you just click basically.
But you know, then after basically, you know, that gave me a good base because of these programs. You know, then after, because I knew how to like type, you know, in the program like DOS in a way.
Like so you were basically coding like in mainframe.
So like in AutoCAD, for example, instead of going with my mouse and clicking the line, if you want to do a line, it's easier to just type L enter. It's much faster.
Okay.
So it was like L enter, you know, erase E enter, you know. So it's like once you have this base, I was a lot faster than every other kid in the class, you know.
And like those shortcuts, they are still probably
of course,
working right now.
Yeah.
Right?
They're still working right now, you know.
Okay.
And I have a file basically that you can save all your shortcuts. You can customize whatever you want, you know. And then what happened is like I went to, you know, obviously this you know, program in Canada, and somebody went in basically and said, we need an intern, like, you know, a student, you know, who can you give us? And they recommended me. So like I worked even before I graduated, like even on my last, you know, semester.
It means you were like standing out. If they recommended
because I was the fastest, you know, in the whole class, you know, and once we get into
not necessarily the most technical knowledge.
It doesn't matter. Like, it just matters the speed. Just the speed. You know?
Okay.
Then I started working basically in an interior design firm. That was doing my first office. Basically, it was doing all retail companies, like Canadian retail companies. It was. You know, they had clients like La Senza, you know, Tommy Hilfiger, Puma, Diesel, you know, all these big like fashion brands.
Like retail shops.
Retail shops, exactly. And imagine in Canada, I mean, you have in every city, in every borough of every city, you have a Tommy Hilfiger, you have a La Senza, you have, you know, in cities, in every shopping center in Canada, you have one of these stores, you know what I mean?
Like so it's like never ending, basically.
It's never ending, And
we didn't mention, you were living in Quebec.
Yes,
right?
in Montreal, in Quebec, which is all French. But because we had, and I don't speak French, you know.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, so you spent so many years
because
you know, but like you understand like basic French at least, or nothing.
Yes, when I was there after 10 years, you know, you pick up many things. But now since I left 14 years, you know,
it's faded.
It's faded, you know. That's really.
But
when I go back, I try to, you know, order my coffee in French, you know.
It's
only laughs at me.
Like it's so funny because my wife hates French. Like she hears, especially if a French person speaks English, you know, because they have very harsh accent. And if she hears a French guy speaking in English, she's like, you know, like, she can't listen to it.
Imagine them listening to me speaking French.
I would imagine her like being there in Montreal and like there's probably people trying to speak in English. I mean, in French accent, it's.
And it's speaking of that. I mean, Quebec is so strict about keeping the French language that basically you're not allowed to have any English anywhere in Quebec
like
by law.
No signs,
no signs, no
menus.
French. No menus, no signs, no answering machines, no windows. They have to be in French on your mobile. Like you're not allowed to have anything in English, and this brings a lot of problems, of course, too.
But like,
KFC, for example, Kentucky Fried Chicken is poulet frites de Kentucky, because the sign is PFK. It's poulet frites Kentucky, because they're not allowed to have the English one, and that brings a lot of problems,
But who controls all of that? Like,
the government.
If I have a PC at home and I have it in English, someone's gonna come in and
But you cannot buy it in English. It comes with French windows only. If you do it at home later, then it's up to you. If they catch you, you get fined.
Like, you can change language.
Yes.
Whatever.
But you cannot buy it with an English version. They all come in French. It's very weird, trust me, and it's like really bad.
That doesn't help with tourism, I guess.
When you go inside the store, basically, you cannot say hello. You have to say bonjour. And if you say hello, they can report you. There's a police, a language police, that goes around, and if they go inside and they hear, like, hey guys, good morning, and not bonjour, comment ça va, they can fine you, basically, because it's like you're not, keeping the language.
Like it sounds like low-key North Korea, man.
Yeah.
And it's like happening right now.
Yes.
Same rules?
Of course. Yeah. Now more than ever, because like it's a lot more, international, basically, than how it was before in the 90s.
But what about tourists? Like, if they come, they have to obey those rules? I mean...
No. After you can speak English. Like, it's a bilingual place. But you cannot start the conversation with, hey guys, how are you? Without saying bonjour, comment ça va? If the other guy says, I'm sorry, I don't speak French. Oh, no problem, sir, But you cannot. And the menus, basically, it's all in French. You cannot say...
Is that somehow...
If you say pasta on the menu, they report you.
But is that somehow controlled by...
By the language police.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously there's like their own government, but is there like a big influence from from France?
No. It's
or it's
Quebec
just like
government.
internal thing that they
because
do.
It's the only French province in all of North America, so they try to like keep it. I understand it in a way, it's just there are certain things that
trying
are
to keep their identity.
Yes,
basically.
But there are certain things that are like just too much,
Yeah.
And after, but I was working in that company, and because they had international clients, I didn't have to work in French. That's why I wasn't so handicapped by the fact that I didn't speak French, because all the clients were international companies, so it was all in English, you know what I mean? Basically, like, the stuff. And I had to also travel, basically, to survey, and visit every single store, because I was working on the... So again, with my work, I've traveled all over, like, British Columbia, like Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, like Ontario, like Ottawa, like, in all, basically, the biggest cities in Canada, I've traveled because of work,
Yeah. So you were actually like designing and then like project managing as well.
Correct, yeah.
So you oversee that everything's done properly.
So I would have to go basically and see the actual location when they would lease it, and then we do the plans basically and the construction, and then you would have to go and visit it when it was all done,
Okay. So,
but imagine, every shopping center in Canada has these stores, so it was like from end to end of Canada, I would travel like the whole... So it was a very interesting, I've been in Banff, like beautiful places in Canada, that by myself, that was a cool part, And you had to take the flight, take your car, drive up the mountain in the ski resort, because they had a Helly Hansen ski wear store. So we had to go basically there and fix it. So I would go in all these beautiful Quebec City, like all these beautiful things. In Toronto, I was there, like every other weekend.
And as a young person, it's
it
almost like
amazing.
perfect.
Yeah.
You get to travel, you get money for it. Like it's... So
it was great.
How many years you did that until...
10 years.
10
then
years.
After, I was there in that company for 5 years. And then I went to another company, which was bigger. It was a bigger company, which was doing... retail clients, again the same, fashion retailers, but also designing the shopping centers themselves. So I was working in a bigger company, after, for the last few years. And then they would design basically the shopping centers as well.
And that's how you met Zoe, right?
And we met through one of the bosses of the first company, not the second company I was working for. He was one of Zoe's friends. He was Italian, that guy. And she was the only Greek person that he knew. And I was the only Greek person that he knew. Like, the only girl. And he was like, when are you going to meet Zoe? Like, when are you going to meet Zoe? Me, I was seeing other people at the time. She was seeing other people at the time. So it was never like, okay, I'll see her, I'll meet her,
okay. But she was working in the same industry kind of thing.
Yeah, she was a fashion designer. Basically, she had her own company when she graduated fashion school, like her own line, And then things happened, basically, and she became the brand manager of Dickies, the streetwear brand. So for all, basically, North America, for Canada, Canada. And, she was selling to stores and traveling to the States, so she was always in wholesale, That's how we came with the idea of, I've designed like 300 stores, and she had like wholesale experience of an international brand. So it was like, why don't we just do that?
So this is when you started thinking of moving out of Canada.
Yes. Right? So what happened? I'll tell you the story. We got married in Vegas, me and Zoe. We traveled to Vegas for like 4 days. Basically, we said, let's get married to Vegas. We went to Vegas.
Does it actually count? Because a lot of people think that it doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
So it's not legally marriage.
So
it's only legal in Nevada state, I
correct,
think, right?
Yeah. So like we went there with friends, family, 4 days. We did the wedding, Graceland Chapel. Elvis singing "Viva."
You actually had Elvis.
Yeah. It's part of the package, Then we came back basically, and we said, okay, let's you go to the city basically with the paper, with Elvis face, and like Zoe was married to Aki, in this date.
And they go like,
to the city,
nice try.
And they're like, exactly, like this is not, valid. It's only valid in the state of Nevada. You need to go basically first to the American embassy. You have to make it, legal in the all the states, like to make it official basically in the American embassy. Then you need to take this paper. You have to go to the Canadian embassy and translate it in French, because in Montreal they don't accept any English papers, so you need to translate it in French. Then you have to go basically to the town hall and register yourself, and then they have to give you the forms basically, and you have to sign them. So it was like a 4-step process. We're like, but what the hell? Like, we just got married. Like, we have to basically get
it takes all the romantics out of the marriage, right? Like,
and then Zoe's father basically said, he's Greek, obviously, and he said, the priest next to our house, there's a small Greek church, will marry you for $200. And he would do all the papers.
Take my money.
We said, let's do it. So then we got married another time, like church, the whole thing, because it had to be a certain way. But, the guy brought all the papers, like everything that we had to do and sign. It was, it was on that day. So basically, in all our papers, it's not the Vegas wedding. It's the other date, because
was there like a big gap?
Yeah, 6 months,
Oh, okay.
One, when we got married in Vegas, it was 33 degrees. We were melting that day. In August, it was 24 August. We melted that day. It was so hot, man, I was going to die. And then when we got married, it was in January 24th in Canada, in Montreal. It was minus 28 that day.
Oh, okay.
And you have to
like
show up
60-degree difference.
You had to show up at the church. Like, I was wearing these boots, like snow boots and snow jacket. Zoe with her dress, with the boots and the...
So you didn't do like actual wedding. You just went in...
No, it was an actual wedding.
Okay,
like
so
with
there
the
were
priest
guests,
and everything. No,
everything.
The priest was serious. Like, it wasn't like,
But did you do like a guest list, a party somewhere at the
venue?
Then
we went, because in Montreal it was our family could come, like some friends and family that didn't come. And then we went to a restaurant, and we had like a little. So we did have a second wedding, essentially. You know what I mean? Basically,
because I know in Vegas there's lots of people who get married.
We didn't
being
know.
drunk, drunk. So
that's why we didn't know. As we thought we're gonna come back and go to the town hall or whatever and give this, and they register it like you are married, But it didn't count,
Okay. And then like at certain point you started thinking of moving.
No, we're not there yet. Then. Basically, I had my career already. I was a very successful, interior designer at the time, making good money. So was Zoe, we had our own places, we were young professionals, And one guy, basically, because I was a designer, I was buying Italian tiles, from Italy, a supplier. He said, listen, there's a ceramic show in Bologna, in Italy. I will pay you, the ticket and the accommodation. Come and see the ceramics because, we would buy ceramics from this guy, And I said, okay, great. I'll come. Why not? It's a free trip to Italy. And then I said, but I want to bring my wife with me. I'll buy her the ticket, of course, but she's never been to Italy, neither have I. We'll do the show. It was only one day. But the rest of the time, we go. So he said, yeah, that's fine. So we went to Italy. We had never been before. And on that trip, we decided, we arrived in Bologna, we went out, we went to Venice, we went to Modena, we went to, all the things. We sat down, it was you're in this beautiful palazzo, piazza, 3,000 years old, having coffee and people are running around and you're but what am I doing? Wherever the fuck I am, what am I doing? I could be here. It's a completely other world with being in North America. It's completely different, the Italian, lifestyle. It was coffee all day, chill, work, but also take it easy, wine at night. We were this is basically what we want to do.
It's living in a holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
But so Bologna is not Malta, obviously.
No, but I'm saying this is where we literally said we're moving. We're moving to Europe. That's what we said. We're moving to Europe.
So it was the culture thing.
Yeah, culture shock. We were shocked at how Italians were living and working and stuff. Meanwhile, in Canada, you're in your car, Starbucks coffee, it's all about business, running around all the time, you know what I mean? So,
and to be honest, there's not so much of a history.
Exactly.
Canada,
that
right?
too. Of course, we went in October. In Canada, it was 5 degrees. End of October. In Italy, it was 18. 18. We were sunny.
Perfect
we were on this
weather.
This boat going to Venice. And we were where are we, man?
Was Zoe did she went to Europe before or
she had been to London, Spain, never to Italy. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And Italy is. That's what I'm saying. It gives you such a historical, it's such a historical place, And basically, we're sitting down and we said, okay, we're moving, we're going to do this. Let's open up a boutique, like a clothing store. I'll design it. You supply it with brands. You have all the contacts, basically, from Montreal. We'll supply it, and that was the idea. We're gonna go back home. And we're going to do this, Both me and Zoe are Virgos. Once we say we're going to do this, it's we're doing it. There's no delay in yes, we decided, but let's see. It's when we say let's do it, it's happening. So
but that's a very good trait to have.
Yes,
a lot of people are okay, I'll do it in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And this is even I personally I miss that thing. I wish I was like that. I decided to do something and I do it straight away because a lot of people, me included, are overthinkers.
Yeah.
So I start overthinking, what if this, what if that? And then, so many options appear and you go but shit, should I actually do it? Because there's so many things that could go wrong,
Yeah, I know.
And somehow you think of the bad things that might happen,
exactly.
not of the good things.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Meanwhile, and for us, it's a project, once you put it in your head, I need to do this. Basically, I'm doing it. It's it's a project.
You're
it's checklist. Obsessed to do it. So anyway, then we go back, basically after 5 days in Italy, we go back. And I'm literally, when I walk back into the office after 5 days and sit down on my chair, I open my computer, basically. The first thing that I do is I put my car on sale. I go to a website, basically, and I put my car. I was driving a Jeep, at the time. I put it for sale. This was the first thing I did. Not let me check my emails about work and reply to all the people that email. It was in my mind. It was I'm out.
But this is very interesting because you set up your brain that the process already started.
It's already started in my brain.
The first step is
that's
done,
what I'm saying.
and there's no way back.
Then the second one, the next day was I put my house on Remax. It was I'm doing my work, but my mind is on this.
So you already had property?
Yeah, I had already.
You bought something? Okay.
I bought an apartment. Basically, I was living in an apartment in Montreal, and Zoe had her own. She had bought her own apartment, so it was we were doing the same thing. Zoe was selling her car, we're selling our apartments basically, and I had my own clients at the time, designing restaurants and stuff. I didn't say nothing to nobody. I mean, because after, what are you going to say to the client? Hey, listen, I'm leaving in 4 months, but you don't know.
Were you like freelancing on the side, or
no,
there
both.
was no time?
No, I was doing both.
Okay.
I was working.
So full-time and freelance as well.
I was a workaholic,
Starbucks and work, that's it.
And that's what it is, in Canada. If you want to, be a successful person, it's like work, Because at work I was doing big jobs, like big projects, like shopping centers, chains of, franchises. Then on my own I was doing restaurants, bars, like residences, and I was always working, all the time. And then, basically we left after, when we came back from Italy, in 6 months we were gone. Like this process took only 6 months. We sold 2 apartments, 2 cars, all our furniture. I mean, it was like you're posting on KGG at the time. It was like you're posting all your furniture. It was until my house was empty.
Was there Craigslist in Canada?
Yeah. And KGG. Maybe it was a Quebec, thing.
No, because I heard about shady things about Craigslist.
The last, yes, I know, but that was back in the day. And then, basically we left, long story short, we sold the apartments, it was the last month I was, in my apartment, she had sold hers. In my apartment, we just had a mattress. Everything else was because we were doing visits for the house and it was completely empty, like walls and 1 mattress basically, because it was like we were waiting for somebody to buy it, And the clients, when I would go to work, because I hadn't quit my job yet, and the clients would see me. I had a white Jeep before, and then I had this like 91 Jetta from Zoe's dad, that I was driving. And they're like, "Where's your car?" "Oh, it's in garage," because I had already sold it, And it was like we already had a ticket, one-way ticket to go to Greece.
So you had to play with people.
Yes, and I was like,
you don't give away.
No, because I needed to get paid. I had to finish the project. So it wasn't like, what, in 3 weeks I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. It's hard to say that, when you have clients.
But after so many years working, you should have there's a notice period that you have to do now. Like you have to tell like 2 months before.
2 weeks only in Canada.
Okay, yeah. That's by law or by the company?
No, by law.
By law. Okay, so that's
2 weeks. Yeah,
not too much.
It's a bit different, and in Canada, by law, in North America in general, I think, by law you only get 2 weeks of holiday. The whole year you work all year, and you have 10 business days of holiday. That's it.
Okay.
It's like
so.
And then when
in Malta we have it pretty good.
Yes,
right?
that's what I'm saying. And in Italy it's the same, Greece, but you don't know that when you're in North America. You know what I'm saying? I guess don't. All you think about was like, in North America I was making $60,000 a year. That's what you think about. But first of all, you get taxed in Quebec 50%. Like the rate, once you pass over, you start to make good money, it's like 50%. Like half of your money is in taxes.
Goes to taxes.
Then, you have this tax, this tax, this tax, this tax. 2 weeks of holiday. So like what I was making there, it's like when you have a good job here, basically with all these holidays that you have, all these bonuses, Christmas bonus, nothing over there. You know what I mean? Here you have Christmas bonus, Easter bonus. So like once you put that together, it's like, it's like you're saying like that's why Europe has this lifestyle, you know what I mean?
But that's the thing, like, because you went through all of that in Canada, like you appreciate
what Malta
Europe
has to
and Malta way more
sure.
than like we came from Lithuania, me and my wife, and we have pretty good benefits, I would say, there.
Exactly.
And then you come to Malta and you don't appreciate things like Malta. I think in European Union has the most holidays from all the countries.
Yeah.
And like for you coming from Canada, it's like
that's
insane.
It was like shocking. I mean, we still speak to all our friends and family there, you know. So it's like, I mean, it's a laughing meme at now. So
50%, Jesus. I thought 25 in Malta is a lot, but like 50. You give half to the government.
My first job basically at this architect's office, that I was working, basically I was like, when I found out 50%, I was like, 50%, the reaction is the same, and his reaction was like, but then you just work to make more money. Like if you want more money, you work to make more money. And don't complain about the tax, you just work to make more money.
And even when you live there, Canada is pretty expensive. I guess, right?
Yeah.
Now it's even obviously more expensive than it was.
Minimum wage is like $15, you know. It's,
an hour, okay.
You know.
And so you get like $7.50 after taxes?
No, not a minimum wage. I'm saying once you get into a good wage, you know, like 60, 70, 80K, you know, like 90K, like the government you get taxed 50%, you know what I mean? Okay. Not on the, it's a scale, but here in Malta,
the more
you
make, the higher
here
the
it
tax.
doesn't really make difference, you know? If you make 30 or if you make 130, your tax is the same. Okay. But there, when you make more money, and if you think about
it's progressive.
It's progressive, tax. You know,
okay.
With a maximum of 50%, you know.
Okay, so how Bologna became Malta?
Because basically we went and we went from Montreal to Greece, one-way ticket. Me and Zoe, we opened up a Greek bank account at the time. You know, we put all our savings that we, you know, from the sale of the house, you know, whatever we sold basically, and we gathered, it was already there. Like we show up with a luggage. I mean, you know, now thinking back, you know, when you hear it, it's like, you know, I mean, it sounds crazy, you know. We arrived in Greece with a luggage and 2 bank cards, you know, and our passports, basically, like, you know, and that's it. Let's do a whole new, you know, life, like, you know. So I had a very small apartment of my grandmother, you know, in Athens, and we ended up staying in Greece for 4 months before we were coming to Malta. Now, my older brother George was already in Malta for a year.
So you loved Italy, but you didn't want to move to Italy. You just wanted to move to Europe, and
we wanted to move
Greece
to Europe
made more sense
at the time. But my brother said, basically, I'm already in Malta. He was already a year before me, basically, because he was working in gaming already, my brother. So he was transferred from Montreal to Malta. He was the first one who came to Malta. Okay. So he said, why don't you come to Malta? I was like, Malta? Where the hell is that? Where the hell is that? You know, Google.
You keep zooming in, and it's not there.
Google, you see all the Luzu boats and all the castles. You know, it's like bilingual. You know, it's in English. You know, and all this stuff. We're like, oh, like Mediterranean island. You know, it's like, oh, great, let's go there. But first, we said let's go to Greece because my wife had to get her Greek citizenship in order, you know, because she was born in Canada and her father immigrated from Greece, but, you know, they hadn't done all the necessary papers, you know. So even though we were married, we had to do all this. That's why we went in Greece the first 4 months, you know, which is another like experience. I mean, I'm having a lot of experiences from point A to B, you know. It's like my wife's father, his last name was Theophilopoulos. So
that sounds super complicated.
Yes. So he was born Nikas Theophilopoulos. When he went in the 60s, you know, in Canada, basically, after he changed his name because Theophilopoulos was too long, apparently, you know, so he made it Theophilos. He cut Opoulos, you know. So basically Zoe got born and all the kids. Then he got married with Zoe's mother. Then the kids got born, basically. So Zoe, her birth certificate said Zoe Theophilos. Then when you go to Greece, it was like Nikas Theophilopoulos. So, excuse me, Miss Zoe Theophilos, you're not the child of Theophilopoulos. Where is the connection here, you know? So, basically what we have to do everything from the beginning. Like her father had to register the marriage, you know, in Greece now I'm talking about, right? The Canadian marriage he had to register in Greece. He had to declare all the kids' births, you know, the change of name, in order for Zoe to be able to get basically her things in order before she even applied for passports, etc. It was like
because in the 60s no one paid attention
to that. No. And now if you think Maltese bureaucracy is bad, I tell you now, it's like 1,000 times better than in Greece. Like in Greece is like 40 years back, like, you know. So like we had to run from village to city, you know, like to get all these papers. Long story short, we got Zoe's passport. We had tickets to come to Malta, one-way tickets, basically to come here. I believe the day before we had to take the plane.
Of course.
It was like anxiety and stress, you know, until the last day.
But
basically.
Everything was
okay. We got it. Like the day before. Otherwise, we would have canceled the tickets, you know, and stuff.
And bought a new one or something.
You know what I mean? So for 4 months in Greece, it was an amazing trip. I mean, you know, we asked a friend of mine, listen, can we borrow your car? And he's like, yeah, I don't use it, borrow the car. In 4 months, we did 12,000 kilometers on his car. It's like, sorry, bro, but we went everywhere. Like it was, I mean, you know, we didn't have kids at the time. Like, you know, it was, I mean, we had money like in the bank because we had sold all the all our assets and stuff there. And we went in Greece everywhere, like from south to north, islands, Mykonos, Santorini, this, that, Athens, Thessaloniki, like Meteora, like all the things.
And there's a lot to see.
Bro, 4 months later, we checked the bank account and we said, if we don't go to Malta now, we're going to burn all the money. Like we had already burned almost half of our savings in 4 months.
It's like snowball down the hill, like
because
the more freedom you feel, the more you
because every day
spending.
we would get up and we were like, what do we do today? Coffee, restaurants, beach bars,
of
cocktails.
Of course.
Like 100 euros per person, gone.
And you were like, what, 20?
We were 29,
29
we're like on 30,
okay.
on our 30.
That's like the peak.
The
so
peak after 4 months of doing it, imagine, you're like, let's go to Mykonos. Imagine how that much would cost, like boat tickets, accommodation, cocktails, going out. I mean, we were young, going out to clubs, Anyway, after 4 months, we're like, if we don't go to Malta now, like we're going back to Canada broke, and we hadn't accomplished anything, what I mean?
So just had a really nice adventure.
Yes, we just had a really nice adventure. So let's cut our adventure at 4 months and go, So then we arrived in Malta. My brother basically left,
so basically, Malta happened because your brother
was here. Yeah,
he praised Malta like it's
because
so cool,
he said,
amazing.
"Come check it. It's English, like Zoe is English speaking, of course. In Greece,
she doesn't speak Greek. No,
she does. But to do business, you need to speak the language well.
Yeah.
To conversate, she can do it very well. But to do business, it's she would be a little bit So, and she was already a professional with a very good career. She didn't want to feel like, I need to, I can't talk or this.
I obviously, because we know each other, I knew that part that you chose Malta of certain things, but when we went together to Athens and I saw Athens for the first time, and I still can't wrap my head around why would you do business in Malta rather than Athens? Because Athens compared to Malta is it's a
I'll tell you why. Why. Because now, since we started talking, we didn't really talk about Malta, yet. Like now we're going into the Malta part. Is because in Athens, I mean, you've been there. As an entrepreneur, we were there for 4 months, and it's like there was nothing that we could think of doing.
Okay.
It was like,
so there's everything already, kind of thing.
You know what I'm saying? So after 4 months, we were like, we wanted to open a clothing store, maybe a bar, this, and it was like, but where? Every neighborhood, everything, you have amazing bars, amazing restaurants, boutiques. And it was like, there was nothing that we could see, what can we do as a startup, as a business, that...
You are either super exceptional, so people
and you need a big budget, which we didn't have, obviously we're not
or you bring something that's not there, which is very unlikely.
Exactly. And then when we came to Malta, it was 28th of August or 29 August.
Proper humidity.
Yes, 29 August of 2009. This is when we arrived in Malta. It's going to be 14 years basically this August. And it was a culture shock. Basically, we felt like we were in Greece, in the 80s. This is how it felt, you had no, high-end beach bars, no restaurants, no high-end boutiques, everything was I was like, where am I? It felt like I was in a village.
But as a business-minded person, it's
opportunity.
Paradise, right?
Exactly. That's why, when you're saying, why didn't I stay in Greece? Because there was nothing that I could possibly think of. Meanwhile, in Malta, even 14 years later, we're 2023, there's plenty of business opportunity to do. Because you go somewhere and you say, you know what, if I would open up French bakery with nice bread and stuff in the middle of here, Pietà, I would do really well, man. Yeah. All you have to do is have a beautiful concept, a beautiful store, beautiful product, man, you're gonna be successful.
Man, we have one in Valletta, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you go to that one.
No, I'm saying it doesn't even have to be in the higher end neighborhoods anymore. Now you can just open a business.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's 2023. There's still business opportunity in Malta. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And a lot of people
in 99.
Don't realize that.
Yes, don't realize. Imagine in 99. In 99, it was in Sliema seafront, it was there was not even one beach bar. Not even one. Like you would go
99 or 2009.
Sorry, in 2009. Yeah, in 2009 it was not even one. And the few basically that you had the kiosks, where compasses and all this stuff, it was like they had, Coca-Cola chairs. Like it was really like this is what you would get. You would get the can of Chisk, with with a kidney. Like it was like, meanwhile in Greece, it was like, you get your Freddo, your coffee, nice cocktail, and it was 15 euros, like you pay it, of course, it's not, Now it's in Malta, it's like that. You want a cocktail, it costs 10 to 12, 13 euros, In Greece, it was already like that in 2009.
Yeah.
Then you came to Malta and it was like, what do you want? You want Chisk or, kidney?
Man, I still can't believe they had those buses with the with the bell,
exactly.
Like a rope going through the bus. You move the rope and the bell starts ringing, and then you get out.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So then, like when we arrived basically in Malta, we had already contacted, again, we're Virgos. Like this was not random, We had already planned this. I had already designed a whole concept, with plans, design to show to landlords. And we had already contacted, real estate agents when we arrived here straight away. So we went to see a few locations and we ended up basically renting a store, in Bay Street at the time, Bay Street was much different back then,
Before we start with the Bay Street, like the business thing, like did that come from family? Like, because you worked as a hired professional, right? You didn't run your business.
No.
Zoe did. She did.
Yeah.
So that the business idea to open your own was kind of Zoe's influence more.
I mean, she already had the experience. So she knew it was.
She knew the blueprint kind of thing.
That it
how
was.
To do it.
It's easy once you get it together. Like it's not impossible. People think could be impossible, but it is not.
But I think like most people, it's the fear to risk
exactly,
to lose the money.
Exactly,
that's the main fear.
But listen, it's.
But at that time,
you lose, you gain.
Yeah.
So we've lost as well, and she did. She had 3 companies. One of them was not successful, but the other 2 were. Like so it was like that. But she already had that. She didn't have the fear, let's say, of doing that. Opening the company. But basically, what we did, it's true. Before we rented the place, it's true. We were in front of Sliema seafront. There in Quisisana. Where you have the little rocks.
There's Coffee Circus, I think, there, no?
Yeah, exactly, there. There was no park there or Coffee Circus, at the time. It was just rocks. But, and we were there maybe like 5 days. I mean, it was like our first week in Malta, And we were swimming, like, because my brother lived, at the time on Tigne Street, at the time, in an apartment, 3-bedroom apartment, 2-bath on Tigne Street. He was paying 550 euros.
I heard those stories, like, that people used to pay like 400 or 500 for like a 3-bedroom apartment in the middle of Sliema.
On Tigne, So anyway, so we're there the first month, and we were swimming, and we come out of the sea basically, and there's this British man, like white hair, like from. He was like, "Hey guys, no,
like the old guys
with goggles, like he was.
He was snorkeling.
Snorkeling,
okay.
We come out of the water, we're just there on the rock.
No man, I was imagining because in Lithuania, like. During the summer, you see a lot of guys like in their 50s. They tan like this, standing up. They're standing just like that, and they're tanning, and it's so funny.
Yeah. Where the sun is, Yeah. Anyway, so we come out, and it's like, hey, how are you? Like you start chatting. We just arrived in Malta. Great. We're like, oh, what do you do for a living? He was like, oh, I open up companies for expats in Malta. We were like. Really?
Yeah. Like that. Yeah, okay.
Really? Great. How much does it cost? Oh,
he was like a lawyer.
Yeah. I mean, he had a company basically to do that, to open up companies for expats. He would open he would help you basically, set up with, the Malta with MFSA, like everything from A to Z, Open up your bank account, with BOV at, for the international clients, like I told you at the time, it was very easy.
I think KPMG does something like that, because my wife works with the KPMG, and I think they help you set up companies as well, yeah.
So we're like, how long does it take? It's going to take 3 weeks. like, okay, so 2 days
That's
later.
quick, man.
Yeah.
3
So 2
weeks.
days later, we went to his office, you sign there, you put whatever, you set up the company with the shares and everything, memorandum, send it to MFSA, you need to go see this guy at the BOV on the thing. It was 3 weeks. We had, like ID, we had our IDs, bank accounts, all the company information. Like it was September. We arrived August 28th, September. And then on October 1st, basically we signed with Bay Street, like to open
the lease.
The lease, And then basically on October 1st, we signed the lease. November 4 was our opening day. Like it took 1 month only.
Do you know how long it would take right now? Like 1 year, probably.
Yeah. So we had basically our opening party was on November 4th of 2009. And we arrived in Malta, September 1st, pretty much. Like in two months, we opened up a company, bank accounts, everything, like IDs, we rented our apartment, basically an apartment, the thing. And we were open for business. Like we had contacts for stock, everything.
How did you find Bay Street? Like you were scouting locations
No,
before?
the agent, because we said we want to do a clothing store, with a bar together. That was our concept.
They suggested commercial.
Yeah, we said we don't want to
property.
be in a neighborhood, like it has to be in a central location, So we were there, which was a good decision at the time because you don't know the area. You don't know.
Which shop is right now, like
It's
where you were? Is that,
Chocolato, the chocolateria.
that's like the
on the
ground level.
Yeah, all the way in. There.
I know.
So it was not a very good location, this is the truth.
Because it's like at the back.
Yeah, at the back for a clothing store and stuff. And, at the time that was what was available, it's fine.
But you started with the brands that you still sell today, no?
We started with different brands. No, not the brands I have today.
Okay.
We had 14 brands, all streetwear brands,
That's a lot. 14.
Yeah.
Because right now
we had
you
Vans
have
from
what,
the-
like 6, 7? No?
Now we have seven.
Yeah,
You're right. Seven brands. We have Vans, Element, Ruka, Billabong, and then Quicksilver, DC, Roxy. Yeah, seven brands. At the time we had Vans also, but we had the WSE, the Swedish. There was Gravis shoes, Nikita, like this Icelandic company. Zoe knew all these brands, like these streetwear brands. So like we had Ben Sherman, from London. So like our mix was a bit too, it was too ahead.
It's a lot to manage.
No, I'm saying it was a bit too hipster for Malta at the time.
Oh, okay.
Oh
yeah.
We were ahead of our time,
When you think of Coca-Cola chairs.
Yes. So it was like,
yeah.
people were kind of shocked with the price point of 80 euros for a hoodie, because these brands, that's the price point, you know what I mean? When all they had here was, like Zara and...
Zara was already
here? Yeah. It was already here.
But not where it is now, I guess.
No, where it is, yeah.
Like on the corner?
Exactly,
yeah.
But they renovated. Like
Okay.
it was much smaller before,
Okay.
Anyway, so we opened, and then on the day that we opened, without exaggeration, basically we opened our store. We had a bar inside as well. We had the bar license.
Which is very interesting. Like there weren't any places like that, I guess.
It was the only one that it
one.
was like a clothing store with a bar, in the same. So the idea was like somebody comes shopping, you buy something, then we offer you a cappuccino,
But you had alcohol as well.
Yes, but the idea, we had a bar, obviously, of course, but, we, had all the coffees, we had Freddos and this and lattes, because from Greece, we brought this with us. We didn't expect that people were going to be drinking like 27 beers, and then shooter trays. It wasn't our goal.
Now when you think about it, probably St. George Bay was big influence that people came to have like casual drinks.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, which we didn't know
because it's very. People who maybe gonna be listening and they don't know Malta, like it's very touristy location, and it's like a clubbing location as well.
10 steps away from like all the bars and the clubs,
And there's like a beach 50 meters away.
So we had a lot of these people who were just coming for a drink, And when we opened basically our doors on November 4th, we had the store basically, like with stock, we were ready, with 90 euros left in our bank account. Like this was basically when we opened our doors, we said either we're going to make it or in 6 months time, we're back in Canada. Okay. We had invested all the money, we paid all the stock, it was there, ready, and we had no money. Like, if we don't make any sales, we're not going to have money to pay the rent. Like, it was very clear.
Realistically, like, you spent way more than you probably planned.
No, it's because we wasted a lot.
I know. But like, even like opening the shop, like with that guy helping setting everything up, like, you had a budget in mind.
We had a budget. No,
did you like go over?
No, we didn't have any more, man. The budget was what we had in the bank. Like, So it was a very nice designed store. It's too bad I don't have a lot of pictures, of that store. It was very unique,
You showed me one like super tiny.
Like the bar was a shape of a lightning bolt, because the riot was like, we had the lightning bolt like as a logo, So it was like a lightning bolt with neon lightning bolts. Like, it was very cool, For the time, it was like nobody had ever seen a boutique like that, It was, you had a lot of old, like boutiques from the 80s, It was like nobody had a cool. No, I'm saying it was the same like as the bars, The shops were like ugly, and from the 80s, It was like whoever had the store.
Did you get a lot of compliments like from other business owners, or it was jealousy, like where those came from?
No, not at all. It was a good experience overall, And we met very interesting people because we had the bar, and people were coming in. They thought it was a very cool place, which it was at the time. And
but it was like more sales of beers than retail.
But me and Zoe, we were like, basically we were running a bar at the time. We had jam sessions, with live drums. We had guitars every Friday night, Saturday night. We had DJs. I would bring my own turntables and the DJ. Like, it was a very happening bar. But close, it was like nobody was buying anything, And then after a while, basically it became, like, we didn't want this. It was not our business idea to open up a bar. It was a clothing store, like with a bar as a. So that's basically, like later on we made the decision like to focus on the apparel,
But you never thought like maybe we should shift to the bar because it was going well.
Well, before we did that. Obviously it was a very seasonal thing in Bay Street, like during the winter it was really quiet and summer was busy,
And you opened in November, so it was
exactly
quiet.
So we had, like the first 6 months basically was difficult, difficult, like in terms of cash flow, I mean. And we were working a lot, Bay Street was open like 10 to 10, 7 days a week. So like, we ended up, we were saying, in Malta, in Europe, we're going to hang out, we're going to relax, we're not going to work so much.
We only see the shop.
And then, we were opening, we opened, the store and we were working from 10 in the morning until 10 at night, 7 days a week until we hired staff, but that was like months later, We were like, what the hell, man? It's like we came to Europe.
It's not what we saw in Bologna.
Yeah. We came to Europe to like take it easy and we ended up working, like 70 hours a week, because... But then what happened, like in May, we opened in November. So 6 months later, basically I had met, somebody who was working in the center and stuff. And it's like, hey, Aki, upstairs at the Bay Street on top of the roof, there's a pool, the pool of the hotel. And nobody's running the pool bar. Like, you want to go see it? I was like, really? He's like, yeah, come and see it. And, he gets the security guy because we all knew each other. We were tenants, Let's go upstairs. We take the elevator, go on the 11th floor, basically of Bay Street. We open up. It was May, like summer, right? And we open up, beautiful. Like the pool was like in a L shape, like a circular shape, kind of. It's on the top of Bay Street. I mean, a lot of people at the time, they didn't know about it. It was, only for the hotel residents.
At the time?
Yes, without a pool bar, but the building was there. So like the guy said, here, bring the keys. He opened up, it was a circular kiosk, that had the closed shutters. He opened up the shutters. Inside was like fridge thing. Nobody was operating because, at the time, like I told you, in 2009, the business mind was not there. Like, for them, it was like, it's there, if somebody wants.
But someone built it with an idea that it's going to be popular.
They didn't care to run it because...
So it belonged to the hotel.
To the hotel.
Not to the shopping center.
No, it's the same owners. Basic hotel. And so me, when I saw it, I was like, Oh my God, me, I'm thinking, like Mykonos, like beach bar
chicks
and stuff.
Bikinis.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh my God, that's crazy that nobody's like, and you're overviewing like St. George's Bay. Now it's called Bikini, that bar. If you go on the top of Bay Street, it's a beautiful rooftop pool bar.
Man, the highest I've been is where they have the games.
No,
that's like 6th floor.
Exactly,
probably.
you go to 11, and now it's a very beautiful bar. You can go spend the day there at the pool. It's beautiful now because they renovated. At the time, it was not renovated. It was older. But I was like, I called Zoe. I was like, you won't believe, like, this is what happening. Zoe, is always, she sees the opportunity, She was like, okay, like, I mean, like, we don't have any money, like, really. I mean, it's not like we have a lot of, savings in order to do that.
So this was like what, like November, December, like
in May,
6 months?
6 months later, after we opened, with no revenue, I mean, pretty much, But basically, and then I emailed the owner of Bay Street because they were very nice, I must say, both of them, like, very nice businessmen, the two owners of Bay Street. I texted them, I said, listen, I saw that I'm interested in getting it. The guy was like, I'm coming, I'm in Gozo on my boat, I'm coming back right now, let's meet in 2 hours. Because I'm assuming that nobody had interest in renting that place. And as soon as the guy said, and I told him I want to think, the guy was like, let's do it to this guy, because he had seen how we did the store, and we opened. So he was like, I'm coming back.
But this is so strange, like how no one knew about that place, or no one saw the opportunity.
Exactly,
And but it means this guy, he was like the owner, he wasn't actively looking for someone.
No, but because we knew each other, we had signed the contract, we had done already business together.
And he saw how you did it.
Yeah, how I did it. He was like, I'm coming back, let's meet in 2 hours and get it done. Like, it's May, like, it was May 1st or something, let's get it done. So I met at the office. I was like, listen, I, want to rent this place, blah, blah, for the season, it's like, how much, will be the rent, And it was, well, considering, blah, 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 that it's upstairs and all this stuff, I'm going to rent it to you for €9 a day. I was like...
€9 a day?
I was like...
It's like 2 drinks.
Wow. Like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, And then my reaction basically to this, being also, the business mind, I was like, well, what about the off months when I'm not operating? You know what I mean?
which is in Malta, like what, from like end of September, let's say?
Yeah.
Till
so I was like, it's fine,
May,
from May to October or end of September, I'm fine to pay what you're asking, But what about the off months when I'm going to be closed? It was like...
You started negotiating.
That was my reaction.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, oh my God, Then with my question, basically the guy's reply was, then you just pay for the electricity, I was like, where do I sign? He brings me the contract, like I read it, I sign, I leave, I call Zoe, I was like, I signed the contract. What the fuck? It's like, we didn't discuss it. I was like, I couldn't really say no. I was like, the guy was like, €9 a day.
But when you told her €9 a day, she still was like, what the fuck?
No, of course not. And then, basically, with whatever we could, pick up and stuff, because they already had sunbeds and stuff. We bought nice umbrellas, we set it up, we bought, equipment, ice machine, and, in 2 weeks' time, we were ready. It was called Seventh Heaven, on the top, basically.
Seventh Heaven?
Yeah, Seventh Heaven,
okay.
On the top, basically, and in the beginning, it was me and Zoe, basically, who were running it, and Alexi, my brother. Alexi was here. Basically, he arrived pretty much just before, because he was 18 at the time. My parents were still in Canada. Only me and Zoe and George were here. So after Alexi finished his school, like, the high school, my parents was like, he's coming there,
So he didn't want to go to like college?
No,
like...
but my parents had already decided that, they're going to move back to Europe since we...
Okay.
But they had to wait for Alexi to finish high school, then for Anastasia to finish high school the year after, and then they would come, So Alexi was like, okay, Alexi is getting on a plane, one-way ticket to Malta, and he has to start working, And we started working, basically, me, Zoe, and Alexi, and we were serving. I mean, it was hard work, but man, we had fun. I mean, that first summer...
I can imagine.
Like Alexi can tell you, we had DJs every afternoon. I mean, we were drinking, like, it was... it was like our first summer in Malta, and we had our own beach bar, and it was like, I mean, we were in heaven.
It's
you know
like,
what I mean,
finally what we came for.
Yeah.
Because the clothes store wasn't bringing you joy.
No, exactly.
Kind of thing.
And it wasn't bringing us enough business. That was the truth. It wasn't doing super well because we wanted to sell clothes, not drinks, And then we had basically people would buy tickets at our bar and take the elevator, and go up to the pool. So we would charge entrance.
But this is perfect. You get them like slightly drunk, and you go like, oh, there's a pool bar upstairs.
Bro, at that year, you didn't have any beach bar. Like we were the first beach bar for people like to come. We're talking like there was no Medeja, no this, no 1926, none of them.
And
no,
even talking about the area, there was nothing.
So it was like the first kind of beach bar that had DJs. People would can go and like get cocktails, and it was it was really really. I mean, we had fun. We were.
So Alexi was like doing
yeah. I mean. And we had to work nights. I mean, Alexi would sleep there some nights because we were there. We were doing private events until, maybe 1, 2, 3 in the morning. After 6 p.m., we would clean the place up and do private events, for gaming companies, and working the bar like until, but, it was like, I mean, we were doing really well. I mean, some days, it was like, we were making like as much in one day that the other place downstairs, we would sell clothes in the whole month. We would do upstairs in one day because, because imagine like one cocktail was like, 8 euros, you know what I mean? And I mean, when you're selling 500 of them, it's like, you're very successful, you know what I mean?
8 euros retail, like the cost.
No, it's less.
As a business owner, like it's
But I'm
lower.
saying, this first summer was doing really, really well. I mean, we had a great summer. Then, the other store basically we closed, obviously, the first season, and.
But I imagine.
So I had a 3-year contract for the pool.
About the pool club, like because you mentioned gaming companies, I imagine you were like super attractive. As a like corporate event location,
but I didn't,
because like you said there was nothing like that.
Yes, but I mean, man, at the time I didn't have a lot of time. That was between having the store open downstairs all the time and the other one upstairs. I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of marketing. That's the truth. I mean, I was so hands-on. I mean, that it was like deliveries of drinks like every day, like almost every day, of beers. Because we're selling so much, it was doing so much volume.
When you think right now, should you have hired someone earlier to help with that place?
You live, you learn, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but from like today's perspective, you would think like, oh, like I need someone to hire someone to work there, so I have more time with the retail.
We had staff, but it's difficult, I mean, to manage everything. Like you need to be present, And the first summer we were working there every day. We didn't have staff. We had staff at the store downstairs. So we were going down, like to check how is it going, like with the store, spend some time there, then go up, basically stay until 6 p.m. when it would close. Not for the private events. I'm saying this was only if we had a contract, and then go down until 10 o'clock downstairs because we still had the other bar, and you still had to kind of, entertain the people and stuff.
Yeah.
So we were I didn't have no time to basically sit and market myself. It was like constantly people, And this was now, we're talking May 2000, right? It was the first summer in Malta, We had a 3-year contract basically
2010.
for the pool. 2010, sorry, I keep saying because I went to Canada in 99 and 2009 I came to Malta, Then that was the first summer. Then on the second summer, basically, this was in 2011, we were getting ready to open up upstairs, like for the season again, like at the pool bar. The other place was operating. And at the time, basically, we had met this, Maltese businessman who was importing Billabong Element as brands. And he had another store at the airport, very nice gentleman with his partner. Anyways, and then they offered us, it was like, hey, they saw how we work. We had a very cool stories and we want to supply you these brands, and work with them. And, maybe if you guys are interested, let's open up something together. We're going to invest and you guys can run it and stuff like that. So, this was, I mean, like literally 5 months after we closed the pool bar for the first season, I mean, this is in a very short period of time, you know. So 4 months later, this guy says, let's look around. Okay, let's look around Isliema to do another store, basically, Isliema. Then we met with Plaza, the Plaza shopping center. The Point was not open yet. The Point opened Christmas of 2010.
Okay, so it was still construction.
It was opening at that point, you know what I mean? So we were looking at the Plaza, and then, when we had found a few locations in the Plaza, and basically after the conversations that we had with the Plaza and stuff with those guys, like they were taking too long. It's what you're saying, overthinking what is going to be our revenue, how much we're going to do this, how many brands. Maybe we should keep looking for another. Like me and Zoe, once we get into it, we were like, these guys are kind of, holding us back. Like at this point, we have already spoken to the Plaza. And then basically the girl of the Plaza, like, we had seen, because where Frank's is now, there is Quicksilver where our store is in the Plaza. Yeah. Right across, Frank's has a big store, but at the time Frank's was cut until the corner. And then there was a small local between Frank's and Antonio's Barber. Like there was another place there.
Where they have now like the coffee thing?
Yes, exactly, but it was another space there between Frank's and this was empty. So like at the time, basically it was completely empty inside. It used to be a bag store before. And the CEO of Plaza brings me in, and shows me, open up the door, I go into the place. I was like, this is a beautiful place, like central location. It was in a very good state, floors, walls, like thing. It was just, in my head again, it was like, this is very possible. It's available now just before summer, and it's not going to take a lot of investment. It's ready. Zoe,
I signed the contract.
I found another. Come see it. Zoe's like, what the fuck? Like we're getting ready, to open up for the other season. Second season of the other place. Yeah. I was like, listen, come and see it before. Obviously she came. We opened up the door. It was like, wow, we can't let this go. Like, this is an opportunity that we cannot let go. Like, we're going to regret it if we don't take it. Then I call my grandmother, God bless her, My grandmother actually bought me on the first place because when we opened, how it was a design, it was glass front with an entrance and the bar was behind the glass. And my grandmother, when she came for the opening, my grandfather, she said, but why do you have this glass between the bar and the seating area? I said, because it was already there, the glass. And, I couldn't remove it and stuff. I didn't, I ran out of budget, basically.
That's the one in the Bay Street.
Yeah. And my grandmother, God bless her, said, I'll pay for it. You remove this glass because, the bar was literally just behind the glass and the seating was in front of the glass, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because, and put a, like a roll down grill or whatever. How much it costs, I'm going to pay for it. So, she helped me with that. We opened up and the bar became a lot more,
She became a shareholder, basically.
No, but, it became a lot more busier because the bar was there and,
She saw that it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, Then on the other one, I called her and I said, listen, I need you to lend me, 4,000 or 5,000 euros because there is this opportunity. Okay, my grandma. I said, I'm going to give it back to you, as soon as...
Man, that's what grandmas are for, right?
So it was like, okay, and basically, 5K is not a lot of money, it's like nothing practically, and it was like, okay, my mind again, it was like, let's go to homemade, this one, IKEA racks, my design things, fluorescent lights hanging from the ceiling, 20 euro at homemade. We paint ceiling black, we put the...
Yeah.
So it was like done. Basically, I did it. Like the store was open, basically with racks full, at the time.
Do you have any pictures of
I do.
That
and
store?
When you see the pictures now, it was like bare bones, you know what I mean? We laugh because now our stores are so full, full of stock, full of shelves, and back then was, you had the wall and we had these plexiglass shelves, and there were like 12 pairs of shoes on it, because that it was a very minimal design, what I mean?
But at the time it was like...
No, and it was what it was at the time.
Good.
Yeah.
It was good, yeah.
So... Now here I am, basically, not even a year and a half later, like in Malta, with my third business, I have the one in Bay Street operating all day, the other one every day, and this one, my third business. And basically what happened was the day that we opened, basically our stores there in Plaza, man, we did 3 times more than the one in Bay Street, and every day. And that's basically when we realized.
And the CEO of Plaza, like when he was showing you that shop, did they have any like data on like footfall?
Yes, but
to sell it.
It's all bull, I mean, it's like
they add a lot.
You go in and out to smoke like 10 times if you're in the office. It counts like in the meter. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of bull. But I'm just saying, that as soon as we opened our doors, we realized right away that this was a very successful, place.
It was mostly the location. It wasn't that like the brands that sold were super popular.
It was just a location because Bay Street is a very nice shopping center as well. But we were too hidden, we were not in the front. Meanwhile, the other one, we were smack in the middle, everybody who goes in, you see it. And again, it was like short-staffed. We had the other one opening for the season. Then my other brother came, Anastasi. He had to work the bar, because he was 18 at the time, second summer. He was working at the bar with some other friends, basically that we had. So all of a sudden we had 3 stores,
That's a lot to manage, right?
That's a lot to manage. And I was going every day, basically we were bringing, imagine, like you buy 10 hoodies, 5 would go to Bay Street, 5 would go to Plaza. That's for every product that we had, right? We had the same products, let's say, because it was the same store, like it was another location. And every day I would go basically with 2 backpacks, because I was driving a scooter, like one in the front, one in the back, with full of stock from Bay Street to bring it to Plaza every day, because, the Plaza would sell, it was only closed. There was no bar, It would sell, whatever, X amount of things. I had to take them from Bay Street and bring them to Plaza. Then the next day, whatever Plaza would sell, I had to take them from Bay Street because we were saying that the other one was moving. Meanwhile, like at the Bay Street, basically we had the same stock there. It wasn't moving. And I was selling like 200 beers a day and, always behind the bar. I was like, my God, I was like, I didn't want to do a bar. I wanted to do a clothing store,
And at some point you were like, it doesn't make sense
to keep
Bay
it.
Street.
Yeah, this was on the 3rd summer, Then what happened on the 3rd summer, basically, now this was May 2011, if you're following the timeline. We opened in November 2009, 2010, summer, May, we opened the pool bar. May 2011, we opened Plaza. Then after, in that period of time, I met this other very nice businessman, Maltese, we met him at the bar and blah, blah, blah. We really hit it off. And basically they said, we want to do another business with you, So, because they knew I was a designer, etc. And they said we're foodies, so we want to get into food. Cafes. So basically we all went together to London, and basically our business model was pret-à-manger, if you know this brand, if you know this.
Yeah.
It's like a ready-made thing with sandwiches, all...
Coffee sandwiches, some sweet stuff as well.
But all high-end, with like... At the time, again, Malta, 2010, was like...
Is it kind
tuna,
of like what
tuna ftira, pasticci, and pizza slice. You had no, like high-end... I mean, there was no Dr. Juice, no Eat Well, none of that stuff, man. You had nothing that was anything resembled in health.
Like Manouche is kind of similar, right?
No, our concept was takeaway.
Manouche, they don't have takeaway.
It was it was takeaway. Everything was packaged like takeaway. If you wanted to eat it there, we had some, like bar and chairs or whatever. But everything was just to grab. So it was called Grab, basically, the business, it was called Grab.
And where did you open?
In Valletta. So basically, we decided, let's do this. They were going to invest, and I was going to do the design and run the business, So
that's the 4th.
That's the 4th, yeah. This was open in 2012, And what happened was, we went to England to all these, Eat, Pulse, pret-à-manger, to get the concept done. We came here in Valletta. We did the store. It was a beautiful... It's on Straight Street where the gin bar is now. Like right at the corner of... There's the gin bar and the ginseng... Near
La Bottega? Where
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is 2 bars. At the time when we opened, Straight Street had no bars. We were the only place in Straight Street.
Everything was on Republic Street, right?
Yeah,
Republic
like Straight Street was, it was dead. Like, Valletta was not how it was now. Like, you would buy a property like for nothing, nobody wanted to be there, So we opened up the place and, all of a sudden we opened up again. It was May 2012, we opened up the place.
It's like May is your lucky month.
Like every year, just before summer, I had like a new business.
Yeah.
But it was my 3rd season at the pool bar, 3rd year in Bay Street, 2nd year in Plaza, 1st year in the other one, And I was really stretching myself. I was going around, imagine, every day. I had to go to all 4 because it's like you want to go there, check what's going on.
That's like super exhausting.
Man, with my scooter, going from St. Julian's, Sliema Center, Valletta, back to St. Julian's, Sliema Center, Valletta, back to St. Julian's, And, Grab started really well. Then it was when, things basically became like difficult because all of a sudden in Valletta they started to excavate Straight Street. So that completely ruined us. They were excavating for 6 months.
No business, basically.
Long story short, we closed it. That's in business. You need to know when to walk away. If you invest in the money after, a few months, it was a year basically. We said, let's shut it down because...
And that the construction was like indefinite. You didn't know when it's gonna end, or
it took like 6 months, and then when we opened, we never got our footing again. It was just doing bad, Meanwhile, the first 3 months were really promising. Then we got sidetracked because of that, and we decided to close it.
It's like people now would like sue Valletta's council probably for something like that, because they ruined the business basically.
Yeah.
Because they have to give you like a plan B or an opportunity to still somehow get people in the shop. They can't just close the street.
They don't care. Unless you go, sue them or a legal, avenue, they don't care.
Yeah.
So
now you're left with 3.
And then basically our contract expired with Plaza because we only had a 3-year contract for the pool. And then we wanted to renew it, but we didn't want to renew the other one.
With Bay Street.
With Bay Street, I'm sorry, yeah. Bay Street. And we didn't want to renew the other one. We only wanted to keep the pool bar because it was doing really well. And, the discussion was, well, we gave you this contract because you had the other one. If you want to keep both, then you can keep both, but you cannot just have a contract for the pool bar without the other one. So we decided, okay, we're out.
We dropped both.
Yeah, because we didn't want to have one. It doesn't make sense to have one.
But the pool club was the cash cow, basically.
I know, but to have a business, unsuccessful business running, just to have the other one, it was like, I don't need this in my life. I could focus on the other one, which is doing really well. If I could have the other one without the one on the bottom, then yes. But basically the decision was no. So we said September 2012, we're out.
But was it painful or was it like a relief?
No, it was a relief. Yeah, relief, man. From having 4 to having just 1, it was like,
what do I do with my time?
What do I do? Yeah. So it was a relief. No, then we focused on Plaza. We did our first renovation, like it did really well. We were doing great,
And then you shifted from that spot to
another,
one in front.
Exactly. This was a few years.
Where you are right now.
Yeah, a few years later. In the meantime, I'm doing the designs for all Brown's pharmacies, which I met basically, the owners of Brown's at the bar, And I've done like maybe 20 pharmacies already in Malta. It's like now the biggest chain of pharmacies on the island, And I've done all the designs basically for them. We're still doing now, I'm still doing.
Yeah. Every time I
new
walk into Brown's, think of...
Which one you go to?
Because the closest one is near Coolidge here.
Yeah, but that's not the nice one.
I was in the queue and I remember that you did the designs and I was like looking at the bottom drawers.
No.
And from the design perspective, as much as I understand, the drawer is literally touching the floor.
Yeah.
And I was like, Did Aki design it that
No.
way, or they made it that way?
This one, that particular one, we only did like a facelift, like, you know, a very fast facelift because it was an older pharmacy and they just did a small facelift. But if you want to see the proper one...
No, the one in Tignes is nice, at the side entrance.
But again, it's with the old design, the one in Tignes.
Okay.
Now the last 10 that we've done, maybe 9, are with a new concept, which is like Spinola or Victor's.
I've been to that one.
Yeah, Victor's. That's the new concept. You know, there's Mosta, Nashar. You know, Mosta Center.
They have loads of glass and white.
Yeah, the green wall
bright.
with all the natural products. Yeah, this is
yeah.
all like my design. You know, and basically in my free time, I was doing that as well. You know, like I was actually, you know, working, doing interior design for them. You know, and you know, then Zoe got pregnant. You know, this was a life-changing experience. You know,
man, I do know. One year into the journey, like I already learned a lot, but there's like so much stuff coming up, I guess.
I know.
You know, but I mean, it's crazy, like how you saw Malta. I was gonna ask you, like, when you came to Malta, in Valletta, I think they still had the roundabout in front where they have the fountain now.
Yeah.
They had the roundabout where
with
the buses would turn, right?
Yeah.
Because like when I look at the pictures, it looks like so many years ago.
Yeah.
You know, because like we haven't seen that.
No, that's right. Now, you know, I mean, Malta is a lot different than how it was back then. Like, you know, it's hard to describe, but, you know, once you start thinking about, you know, these small things, it was like, you know, you didn't have this, you didn't have that. This was different, this was different, you know?
And you saw the whole, like, construction boom as well.
Yeah,
like when you came here, there were no cranes, like maybe 1 or 2, probably. And now it's like, how many?
I mean, this...
Whichever direction you look, you have like 10 at least in your eyesight. You know?
No, for sure. We bought... You know, the property that our house in Sliema, we bought it in 2011. Like it was a year and a half later that we bought it. So it was like, you know.
But it means you felt pretty confident. Like if you buy a property and you invest where you are, you felt pretty confident that the business is gonna do okay, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you felt that it's like I'm not sure, you wouldn't buy.
No. You know, we were already like past, you know, the year and a half, like, you know, the first year is difficult, but then, you know, and it's never a bad time to buy a property, as you know.
I know. There's a lot of, you know, pros and cons when you think about it, but like our stories, you know, like, because we're from Lithuania, like you think about Lithuania, blah, blah, blah. But, and
we're still at the same place, you know, so we're very lucky. I mean, you know, we have our home and stuff, you know, other than our businesses, you know.
Yeah.
And
now the latest venture, the boat thingy.
Yeah, but before that, we only had one store. What we did is basically, you know, I mean, we were fortunate enough. Store, No, I'm saying we're fortunate enough, you know, that we, you know, saved, you know, and stuff, and we bought 2, you know, an apartment basically in Sliema. We broke it in 2. We had an Airbnb business basically for a year and a half, which we loved. Like this was Zoe's calling, you know, to always guests, you know, happy people. They come to Malta for holiday. Like she loved it. You know?
You ran it yourself, like you cleaned the place yourself. Everything.
We had, you know, a cleaner, obviously.
Which now you would outsource, I guess.
No, I'm saying we had somebody to help us with the cleaning, but everything else, you know, like changes on the sheets, you know, linens, you know, welcome packs, all the back and forth, you know, check-ins, check-outs, like we used to do all ourselves, you know, which was, you know, it's a job in its own, having 2 places, you know.
Especially in the high season, like during the summer.
Season, yeah.
Because you did short lets. Like,
Airbnb only,
for a couple of days
lets,
or a week or something.
And then, you know, like basically we decided, you know, to sell these and buy, you know, some other ones in St. Paul's Bay, in Aura, you know, now. But this gave us, Carol, is the, you know, the love of that type of business. You know what I mean? So this is going to be my next kind of... This was something that we said, I'm not going to sell clothes for, you know, all my life.
I was going to ask, like, I hear you saying that like you might drop the retail
There is an expiry date in that. You know what I mean? You cannot I cannot see myself, later on doing that. If somebody else wants to keep it running, be my guest. But, I don't see myself being that, for the time being, of course, for the next, of course, it's still doing well, we're very happy doing it. But when we had the Airbnb business, it was great. Like we loved it, it was something that I can see myself being older and doing, I don't see myself being older and being in the fashion business, it has an expiry date, you know what I mean?
Because you experienced the staffing issue in Malta as well.
I mean, no, I'm saying, it's with the fashion, you always need to be up to trend, I mean, to do it well, to be successful, you need to be up to trend, you know. So, there is, that's why people, I'm saying, come and go. There's always new and new and new. But, when you have a good hospitality business, I mean, it's something that is long term. You can do that,
And it's easier to run, I guess.
Yeah, I'm saying it's something that you could do if you have, if you're older, you can still do it.
It becomes almost like passive income in a way.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. There are many
you don't need to be standing there
now
every day.
We're gonna use a management company, so we're not really going to be there all the time because we are too
but this is next level when you decide to give up portion of the income from that business for a peace of mind, right? So you have more time.
Very worth it. Yeah.
But that's what I'm
it's
what
all
I'm saying.
In the percentage.
You have to grow to this level to understand that it makes more sense to give 15% to someone
in order to let go and focus on something else, you know what I mean? It's all just a percentage, So, and these apartments are basically ready soon. This summer is going to be our first summer with the other apartments, going. And, then COVID hit. Basically, we had our kid, basically we sold the apartments, the other ones that we bought, the other ones on plan before COVID. And then COVID hit like everybody else, we were, hit
Yeah, but during COVID, you actually opened the second shop.
Drastically, yes. But this, we survived. When shit hits the fan, again, me and Zoe are Virgos. It's all about finding solutions. So it was, what are we going to do? It's like our stores are closed. We have no revenue, basically. And all the stock that we had already received, you need to pay it, with no revenue.
And online sales weren't a thing at the moment?
Basically it was not. We did some, a few thousand, but it's we're talking about tens of thousands of stock, that it was already here and we were liable to pay, and plus rent, plus, so...
Did Plaza do any
Yeah, they were
discounts?
very nice, they were very helpful, we were lucky. So basically when that thing happens, we were with Zoe, we were like, this is it. We're bankrupt, we're going to bankruptcy and, we're going to have to deal with this now, Then, basically we said, okay, let's start, seeing how we can, progress.
This is so stressful. Being so many years in that business,
and
already having a name,
established,
doing well.
Imagine everything that I told you so far.
And then something that you can't control.
You can't control.
Happens.
Happens. And basically, how I told you, when I opened my business, we had €100 in our bank account. After, when we closed our store, a month later or 2 months later, when, we had to pay, what we needed to pay, no revenue coming in, it was right after Christmas and stuff like that. At some point, basically, we had again, €100 in our bank account. So after a decade, we were we're in this situation now. If we don't, manage it, basically, we don't have money to pay our mortgage. We're not talking about the business. I'm talking, I don't have money to pay my mortgage for the house that I'm in, So it was, what do you do? Well, let's get jobs. I mean, what else are you going to do? You're not going to sit around and do nothing, So let's get jobs. I go out, I did interviews, architectural companies, design companies, Zoe gaming companies, anything, customer support, that she could do from home, Zoe got a job before me. We applied for the same position. I didn't get the job. Zoe did,
Okay. Oh, yeah, because she worked with the Red Acre?
Yeah, with Red Acre, So Zoe got a job. at home, basically doing night shifts as well. Imagine like, Zoe, we had a kid as well. I think I was 5 at the time, and Zoe was doing headphones, chat from 10 p.m. until 8 a.m. So, you tip your hat basically and you say, you're a true warrior, you know what I mean? Right. Just to get the salary in order to pay our rent, pay our food, and live until, and at the same time, I was doing designs, with Brown's Pharmacies, and stuff.
But this was indefinite, man. Like, you didn't know how long it's going to last.
At the time, this was the first wave that it was, Paris was empty. Times Square was empty. Like, you didn't think, you didn't know if you're going to live or die. Like, you know what I mean? You thought, if I'm going to catch this virus, I'm going to die. Like, we're talking about, not the second year or third year. This was like, our business is shut, like forget it, and what do we do,
Man, but I remember that time, it's so weird, like pressing everything with elbows.
Yeah.
Like you were so conscious of it. What you're touching.
Yeah, you didn't know if you're going to...
Or like you would walk to the other side of the street if you saw a person
somebody
coming.
Yeah.
It's like...
It was crazy,
Like the stuff you saw in the movies, like...
Yeah.
And that like actually happened. And it seems like it was like so long ago, and it wasn't really that long ago.
Man, it was like 3 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
And, Zoe had basically, she completely focused on that because, she was working 40 hours for another company, night shifts, shifts. Being a mother, to Athena had no school, everything was from home at the time, And basically she's like, you deal with what you have to deal with. I'm dealing with what I have to deal with. So government started to give these grants, about the salaries, 800 euros a month. I applied for all of these things, I did my due diligence basically to do that. I went to the bank, they gave COVID loans, I went to get a loan. Basically, we got it, because Zoe had an income. The bank is like, how are you going to not pay back the loan? Like, we took a loan to pay the stock that we had already received, and we were liable to pay, And how are you going to pay? Well, my wife got another job. So, because Zoe had another job, the bank actually agreed to give us a loan.
And suppliers, they didn't care?
No, suppliers said, take as much time as you need.
But you still have to
you
pay,
still have
obviously.
To pay.
Yeah,
what are you going to do, Unless you send them back to us, But anyway, so we got the loan. So all of a sudden, then we reopened. This was after 3 months, we reopened, And we were managing, we had a thing. Then second year we did better, after the first year, I think businesses started to come back, you know what I mean? And on the second year, basically after, the first year, with the loan that we had to do and stuff, Zoe was still working because Zoe was working for a year and 3 months to the other company. This was not for 2 months. Like until we were back on our feet, kind of the stores moving, Zoe was going to be there. She didn't have, an option, Then, I was trying to manage like all the stuff, basically with the store. We kept our stuff, basically because you need stuff. You can't just have, with the government stuff. I didn't get a salary for like a year. I didn't pay myself for a whole year. Just doing designs to get like some income.
But Browns kept you busy.
No, they were very busy. Pharmacies during COVID, man. While my business was like going like this because I was selling clothes, their business, because they were selling masks and sanitizers, was like,
Yeah, but this is also like really... kind of good luck.
Yeah.
That you already had a contact with pharmacies.
Exactly. So, a project here, a project there was giving me some revenue. Zoe had the revenue. So we managed because from the company we were getting, zero, absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden a store closed in the plaza. We were on the second level, Quicksilver store. Then somebody closed and downstairs. So Mia had a fine idea, obviously, to say, well...
But you were in the situation where you wouldn't think to open
another
new,
store,
right?
Then
You're
I
like just surviving,
And what happened was basically, the plaza said, we're going to give this shop basically to, like a Christmas shop during Christmas for free, because it's better to give it and have something than have it closed, it doesn't look nice, And then I was like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I went back to see the CEO, and I said, listen, if you're going to give to this, a third party outside of the plaza for free, to have it, why not you give it to me? I'll put stock there, I'm going to make it, I'm going to run it. And I was like, well, so he said, I cannot give it to you for free because you're a tenant. And after the other tenants are going to be wide. So we had another, agreement, basically, which was great. Then I go back, I tell Zoe, listen, Zoe, this store is available. What should we do? Should we take it? Zoe was like, with her headphones, like, what are you telling me, Then I said, before you decide, come and, and see it, Then, we went, again, it was the same situation. We're saying if we don't take it now, we're going to regret it, because somebody else is going to take it. And then maybe, we're going to regret not opening because we wanted to import new brands. We only had Quicksilver, DC, and Roxy. And the same group had Billabong, Element, and Ruka. But we couldn't have them all in one store. We had to open another store to import these brands,
Yeah, no, because, your store is...
Small, yeah.
Kind of small, yeah.
Small. Because those are the type of spaces that they were available, So Zoe tells me, listen, do whatever you want. I can't help you. Don't ask me for any help. As you can see, I'm 40 hours working somewhere else. I have the household to take care of, daughter, Athena at school from home, you know what I mean? Like I can't do anything. So I was like, okay, don't worry. We take it, we opened it. We did, we had 2 months. Basically, again, my design thing was like, how can I do this store with no budget? Like, the other one had a little bit of budget. This one, no budget at all, So paint, homemade, some shelves myself, like whatever artwork I had from home, you put it there. I brought the couch from home.
Even the TV, I think.
Yeah. The TV from home, Athena's desk, my daughter's desk. And I put it there. It was white, but I didn't want white. So I went to the carpenter. I said, cut me this plywood. And I just put plywood on, like me with the screws. So I did everything myself, basically, on the store. We opened. I went to buy the bars, with all the system there. Anyways, we opened only for 2 months for Christmas, just to try it out with whatever stock we had. It did well enough to say, it's good, let's continue it. Zoe, she was completely out of it, because it was still... working on the other company, And then we said, okay, great. It gave some promise. Now let's really invest in it. We're going to make it into a Quicksilver, a Billabong Element store. We closed for 2 months, basically. So whatever money we did during Christmas in that store, we just took it and reinvested it, like straight away, And after 2 months, basically, of the renovations, we opened up. It's a beautiful store. It's on level 1, in the plaza. Anyways, we opened March 10th. Now we're talking 2021,
So it's a big gap.
No, sorry, March 2022, No, 21. Yes, you're right. The second year of COVID. Second year of COVID, when we did the second shutdown. So we opened March 10th after 2 months close of renovations. We opened full stock, beautiful store. March 11, the next day, man, government announces shutdown for another 2 months. I was like, give me a break, man. Like I just opened, the other store. But, the plaza, again, was very helpful. We didn't pay rent. They helped us a lot, But just to say, as soon as we opened, March 10th, March 11th, we had to close our doors. So, but then what happened was, when we reopened, both stores did really well, like people were fed up at that point, they...
Of course, they wanted to shop.
They wanted, to shop, and as soon as basically we opened, both stores were doing really well. And after a few months, Zoe said, I'm quitting, So she came back into the company,
Yeah.
But we had a lot of,
It's insane, man, the pressure.
The pressure, when you have 100 euros in your bank account, you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your mortgage the next month. It's pressure,
And 100 euros, you went that far.
Because,
because other people would be like, maybe 1,000 euros is already uncomfortable, but to go to 100.
And then, we opened another store in the meantime. But, now they're both doing really well. We're very happy, basically.
But that's what people say. The crisis is the best time to start
because,
something
that,
if you can afford.
That store was not available before. During COVID that it became available.
Because someone couldn't run
left,
it anymore. I don't even remember what was there
It
before.
was salt water. It had like premium bags and wallets, and stuff, like upscale.
Okay.
Salt water was called.
Cool,
and
man.
now that's it. Yeah.
It's insane. But the sheer determination to I'm gonna open the second store when you're not sure if the quarantine is gonna be lifted. You don't know what's gonna happen.
And Zoe is a very good partner to have. She does all the background work, all the accounting, she was doing also that, And then when she came back into the company, obviously we had a great, 2 years, now.
Cool,
a lot of businesses are doing well now,
And it's still going well.
Yeah.
Hopefully no other COVIDs come in, man. But even if that happens, you already have experience how to kind of navigate that. And you would obviously do things differently, probably certain stuff.
Yeah, But it was a lot of, up and down.
It's crazy, man.
My decade, first decade in Malta. Imagine, how many businesses I opened, closed, moved.
Yeah. And now the
design work,
Like you said, the boat thing.
And now coming. Basically, it was always kind of my, idea that, because we wanted to have the Airbnbs. Once you get into that, accommodating people, so you get into a little bit of that mindset, then we saw that there is a bit of potential, in day charters. We've taken...
You saw the potential, I think.
Yes.
And Zoe got you convinced her.
And instead of saying, hey, Zoe, I want to buy a boat, I said, hey, Zoe, I want to do a business with a boat. It sounds better.
That's the key word to get her on your side, right?
Exactly.
Because if you only said I want to buy a boat, she would be like, what the hell?
What are you saying?
I want to do business with that boat.
And charter that boat.
That's
it was
different. Because then she thinks, okay, so we can go on the boat trips and also rent that boat, which,
Exactly. So, the idea is that, obviously we charter it, we're going to get there is a gap. Once you get into that kind of business and see a little bit, because we've rented boats before, self-driven and skippered, there's a gap between, the everyday boat, that you self thing and skippered, and the higher end boats.
It's just different experience, different class.
No, I'm saying there is a gap because you can, you rent the normal boats for a few hundred a day, 300, 400, 500, whatever it is that you pay.
And then there's catamarans
and
with €1,000.
Yes, there's a gap between somebody, like a normal person who wants to get, a nice boat, not the normal boat with a canopy and, you're driving and your ass is on the plastic, going like this. And the luxury boats that you have to pay over €1,000 for the day, which is, not for a normal person who wants to come,
There's a market in the
There's
in the
a market
middle.
there, yeah. So now, we're basically saying that we want to get a boat big enough for enough people, but, fancy enough that gives you the higher end experience, but not more expensive. Again, there's an opportunity there because there's demand. People think they can just charge hundreds of euros and give you a boat that is not a luxury, but because there's so much demand. So we don't want to rent it for more. It's going to be the same price point, but with a much, much better experience in general, experience, leather seats, lying down, in the cockpit, music, picking up, from the marina, the whole experience, but at the same price point of the average boat that is, your typical boat, basically.
Yeah. But it makes sense. I think it's gonna be successful.
No, I think so too.
There's very little margin for an error in this kind of thing,
exactly.
Right?
And once you kind of put it together, then it's easier to say let's buy a boat.
Man,
but that's for next year now. This is gonna be next year. This year our apartments are ready, so this summer is gonna be the Airbnb, basically running three apartments. It's also gonna be something that we need to focus on.
I'm glad, man.
Man, we didn't talk about basketball at all.
Yeah, I know. That's for the next one.
Next podcast. Because
the basketball, it's like completely different topic. I should have worn the Žalgiris shirt, but
I mean,
for the next one, you have to come in Panathinaikos in that case.
Exactly.
And
between
and then we discuss which team is better, basically, for an hour.
Let's see.
We're not talking about this season. Maybe we'll see.
Just in general, in history. In the last 30 years, But between all of this, since we're talking about basketball, it's like, I've been playing basketball,
a lot. Like too much, almost.
4 times a week, like through COVID, not COVID, through birth, not birth, pre-kid, after kid,
Man, I got COVID the first time, I think, playing basketball while we were playing here in Pieta, in St. Augustine's. Because I remember texting all the guys on WhatsApp. Guys, don't be alarmed, but I think I got COVID. And we played like... Oh, shit.
And were you positive?
The night before, I think I was. Because we bought tests. I still have a few, but that's the first time I think I got COVID. So yeah, man, we have to cut it because I think we spoke for like almost 2 hours. It's insane. Time flies. But man, like I'm so glad that I really wanted to get you on the podcast, especially as the first one, because like your experiences.
Yeah, and I have it. Like I told you, Canada. I have a very positive experience about Malta because of the opportunity that and there's still opportunity. It's just that the experience is not always the same, like for everybody, and it's not saying you have to see it in. It's difficult to explain, but Malta is maybe not the best place in the world, but it's definitely not the worst. You know what I mean?
But there's no such thing as best place.
Yes,
exactly. All the countries have shortcomings. You just deal with it.
Maybe it doesn't have the most beautiful beaches, in the world, but it doesn't. It has beautiful beaches. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe it's not Bali, but it's not something else. So it's all about positivity and saying, you know what,
And it's your attitude, like the way you look at things, like. I know a lot of other foreigners living in Malta that have much more negative attitude towards the country and things happening here. But like, it's like how you started here with the positive attitutive. That's the experiences that you had, right? So,
if I didn't have a positive attitude from the beginning, or maybe, positive experience, maybe it would have been, the history would have been a little bit different.
Maybe you wouldn't even be here
but
in Malta.
Both me and Zoe, we loved it, like from the beginning. So it was like, it was... Like if the businesses were doing great and you have enough financial, stability, there's no reason why you would move, or look elsewhere.
Exactly.
Because it's
especially when the Greece is that close, you can just fly.
Exactly.
There,
go for holiday,
Easy.
And in Canada as well, it's like, of course, it's a beautiful country, Canada. It offers a lot, but
it's fucking cold, man.
But it's it's like minus 28 right now.
Yeah. And here you drive through the country in like 1 hour. So anywhere you need to go, everything's close. Okay, man. Thanks for coming, and being the first one. And
I'm happy to come again.
Cool. We'll do that again for sure.
Because there's more things we can talk about.
Of course.